Good evening, Tiffy and Bethy. Today I'm going to be doing a book review for you. Finally, Tiffany, you're going to be happy because I stopped being a cunt and I've finished reading Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. This damn book, geared up, was like throwing a wrench in my gears. It totally fucked up everything. But you know what? You'll be proud of me because I finally confronted my Aunt Beth and I told her, I'm sorry, I just don't like this book. I didn't finish it. And she was cool with that. This is my take on a really quick geisha style. I mean, look how stupid it looks. So I was excited to read this after a while because Memoirs of a Geisha is probably one of my favorite comfort movies. And I always wanted to know a little more about the world of geisha just because when I tell people they're not prostitutes, it's kind of difficult to explain why they're not. But I kind of understand now. I mean, it's a little complicated because Japan, they're crazy over there. The beginning, I hate reading about their humble beginnings. It's just annoying, but this is important to the story. Chiyo, who is the character in the book, she and her sister Satsu lived with her mother and father in this little village called Yoroido, and it was a little fishing village. You know, her father was a fisherman, he would hand sew his nets, and she always said that she had a lot of water in her because her eyes were like a blue-gray type, which is like incredibly uncommon for a Japanese person. Her mother was incredibly ill and was dying, and Chiyo and her sister, you know, go on little adventures here and there. And one day she slips in the mud and she's taken to this fish factory by Mr. Tanaka. And Mr. Tanaka takes care of her, you know, is usually there, gives her mother some herbs and stuff. And at one point she goes to spend the night at Mr. Tanaka. And during, you know, she thought, if my mother dies, I would really love to be adopted by this guy because he has a lot of wealth and she's never known that type of wealth before. At one point in the night, she and Mr. Tanaka's daughter go to spy on Mr. Tanaka and find that he's being entertained by some geisha, which isn't bad, but she was like, they're so pretty. I've never seen a geisha before. Chiyo and Satsu end up being sold into slavery. They're sold to separate geisha districts and okiyas, which are houses in which geisha are living. Chiyo goes to work for mother and granny and auntie, the people that run the okiya, and Hatsumomo, who is like the queen bitch of geishas. Chiyo befriends Pumpkin, who is a little older than her, but they become best friends and they work together, and she says, you know, if you work hard enough, you can go to school to be a geisha. One evening Chiyo needs to deliver a shamisen thing to Hatsumomo at a tea house, and when she does, she decides, I'm gonna go look for my sister. So she searches all over and she finds Satsu and she says, look, we need to run away. And she says, okay, well, it has to be this time. So Chiyo can't get away from the house, so she tries to climb the roof and she ends up falling and breaking her arm. So she misses her sister. Her sister's gone. At that point, they're like, you know what? You've caused so much debt and trouble. There's no way that we're going to send you to become a geisha. You're going to work off your debt for the rest of your life. I forgot to tell the part about Chiyo finding Hatsumomo and her boyfriend together. Oops. That's not allowed, by the way. Mr. Tanaka sends her a package saying that both of her parents had died, so she really has nowhere else to go. She's pretty much stuck there. The main part, or the most important part of the book, is when Chiyo meets the chairman, who is an older gentleman, and he was walking with some geisha, and he's like, oh, why are you so sad? Here's some money and some shaved ice, and I'll give you my handkerchief. And anyway, she decides at that moment to become a geisha. She spends the next few years of her life absolutely pining after the chairman, and that was like her main goal. Their granny dies in an electrical heater fire. The famous geisha, Mameha, comes to pay her condolences and meets little Chiyo and decides that she would like for her to study under her, become her sister, and so she strikes a deal with Mother, you know, saying like, oh, if she could repay her debts, so I'll get double, she can keep everything, blah, blah, blah. And of course, Mother doesn't believe that because she thinks she's a worthless little shit, so she's like, yeah, do whatever. So she spends a lot of time trying to become a geisha, but she's a little behind at this point, so she has to work like twice as hard. Mameha takes her to different people that she knows, like Dr. Crab, and this artist that's like absolutely in love with the color of her eyes, and it's basically her eyes is what makes her super famous. So she goes through, she meets Nobu, who's a businessman who doesn't really care that much for geisha, but at some point he wants to become her dana, which is, I guess, a patron, is what you would call it, but also gets to sleep with you. There's a whole thing going on with the whole selling or bidding for the mizwage. Just sorry, every time I read I was like, bidding for her mizwage. I'm sorry, my hair looks really stupid, I'm gonna take it down. She's passing around these little rice cakes with a sweet plum in the center, and that's basically to let people know that the bidding for her mizwage is underway. Nobu bids, but you know, he kind of drops out later because he's like, I don't want people touching what's mine and weird stuff. At one point, freaking the Baron, who is Mameha's dana, decides to invite Chiyo to a party, and he's such a dickhead because he takes her in to give her a kimono, but he starts to undress her and she's freaking out, and you know, he doesn't do anything to her, he just wants to look. But I thought that was a really shitty thing to do, and it was just incredibly uncomfortable that whole time I was reading it. Whoa. My little hair sausage. Anyway, Dr. Crab wins the bidding, and so he's the one that gets to be the lucky man to take her virginity, which is incredibly awkward because she really doesn't know what's going on. Like, she's heard the tale about the eel in the cave, but other than that, she doesn't really understand what's happening because she's only 15. Let's fast forward because it's pretty similar to the movie up until the point when the war starts going on. She became in charge of the Yokiya. Her mother decided to take her on as a daughter so she could be in charge of the Yokiya because she won a lot of money for her mizwage, la la la. Nobu wanted to be her dana, or her patron, and she didn't really want that because she likes Nobu, he's a nice guy, but she still wants the chairman, you know, but the chairman wasn't really interested in being her dana. In fact, she hadn't seen much of him or spoken to him that often in a while. So Mameha kinda at first is like, screw you, you gotta do what geisha law says, and eventually she was like, okay, how about General Totori? He doesn't really support her the way everyone else wanted Nobu to support her, because Nobu was rich and he could have given her jewels and all kinds of stuff, whereas the general kind of supported her but in a different way, but they were grateful for it, like military use and things like that. The war was really booming. Things were going to shit, and Nobu, his whole company just kind of fell apart, literally, and he says, I'm really interested in being your dana, so I'll give you this rock, and when I ask you for the rock back, that means it's time for me to do that. So he took her to different places so she wouldn't have to work hard. But I thought there were things that were different from the movie, which I liked, but it was also a little like, huh? They did follow Hatsumomo around to all of her parties to kind of destroy her, and it happened. At one point she just got like really embarrassed and drunk and all kinds of weird shit. She was thrown out of a party and her life was basically over after that. She found a man to have an affair with, like a short little affair type of thing, and it wasn't the basic, alright, lay down, let's do this type of thing. It was actually like passion-based type of thing. She didn't have a plan to have Nobu catch her in the act fooling around with somebody, and instead Pumpkin brought the chairman, so the chairman saw her fooling around, and Pumpkin was like, I'm just doing this to repay you for all the shit you caused me, because she wanted to be adopted by Mother to run the Okia. Anyway, she finally meets up with the chairman, you know, and she explains everything. Nobu's completely disgusted with her and never wants to see her again. But she and the chairman finally pronounced their love for each other and was like, you're what I was looking for all this time, blah. And, yeah, eventually the chairman becomes her Dana. And she's, at the end of the book, she's telling her story from New York. She's in New York with her son by the chairman, and that's the story. And I thought overall it was a very good story. I really did like it. It was a while since I read like the first half of this book, so I had to go back and make sure that I was getting my facts right. Tiffany, thank you. The fuck. Thank you for recommending this book to me. I really did like it. I still love the movie, even though now I will look at it differently because of the things that they left out or changed slightly. But I do enjoy it. It is a great book. Anyway, that's all. Next week I will have a recipe thingy for you. And go read some shit, okay? Love you, bye.